On this week's full-time roundup, it's all about the Cup. Plus, some leagues are returning, and we break down some of the big storylines. As I always, give you predictions on Thursday. Full-time roundup starts right now. And welcome into the latest edition of the Full-Time Roundup midweek episode, Thursday prediction show. Daniel Brackett with me, as always, Matt Gesslin here in the big boy chair. Daniel, Thursday, almost end of the week. Sunny. We had a pretty gnarly storm come through yesterday, but today was an absolute bluebird day here in the Queen City.
It was, after all that rain, sometimes you need a little sun. So thankful it kind of warmed up today, even though this cold front's coming in. I'm not enjoying it, but, I'll take sunlight whenever I can get it.
Take sunlight. This is not the Weather Channel, so that'll be your weather update for us. Of course, Daniel, though, there was some not only rain here in Charlotte, but some rain on the pitch.
Your tears?
I don't necessarily want to get into this here, but of course, we'll talk about the Carabao Cup to start. There was two matches, two semifinals. Of course, the Carabao Cup is going to be two-legged, a home and away here in this year. It will change going forward. Next year will be single elimination. And boy, Chelsea are thankful that this year is two legs because, Daniel, let me tell you, that was absolutely horrendous. In case you don't know the result or can't tell by the sound of my voice, Chelsea go to Middlesbrough and lose 1-0 on the road against a mid-table championship side. I don't know how you want to tee me up to rant here. I can just rant if I want, but I am obviously pretty bummed, pretty upset, very nice adjectives that could be escalated to a lot higher here. But it was a very, very disappointing night. And again, like I said, luckily we get to go home to Stamford Bridge for the second leg and hopefully take care of business. But boy, that's really, really unfortunate and disgusting of a loss.
It is. And what did I say on Sunday? Put a couple results together and then we can talk about, your Chelsea being in sixth place in the Premier League and, starting to gain some ground and then another step back like they always do, it seems, this season, which is very frustrating, cloudy with the chance of Matthew's tears. Carrick Ball, on the other hand, Middlesbrough, they have two guys drop within 15 minutes and they put some subs on. With the championship mid-tier, this is a Middlesbrough that was the bottom of the championship to start the season and has climbed all the way to not the top of the table, but they're almost in playoff contention. Michael Carrick's a fantastic coach. He might be the only England generational player from that generation that actually might be a decent football manager. And you know what? He showed it today, or I guess a couple of days ago against Chelsea. But yes, please do your ranting.
I mean, yes, it was great that they did all this and they got a great counterattacking goal off a pretty poor defensive play from, just kind of all around all the players, and it just came out of nowhere. Of course, Cole Palmer probably changes the entire game if he puts that ball in the net at the 30th minute mark. And then literally almost right down the field they go and they score that goal right after that and changes the entire complexion of the game. He missed another opportunity late in the half as well after a mishap by the goalie, if you want to call it a howler. I don't know. He got away with it, so it's not really a howler, but another golden opportunity there. I think it could have been 4-0 Chelsea at the first half if they put away the first goal. And again, against the Middlesbrough team, credit to them. They fought hard. They got that counterattacking goal as you expect, but had any of those goals gone in early, this game is completely different. It's regardless, Daniel, you're looking at 900 million, but it feels like 900 billion.
It does feel like it.
$900 million spent on a roster, and Middlesbrough, I think, was 68 million for their entire squad. So just the scale and comparisons between the talent on the field was absolutely night and day. And no matter what, going down 1-0, this game should have still been 3-4-1 at worst. And ultimately the worst of worst possible result came about it. You're hearing a lot of rumblings now at this point. What is this side? What is the picture? What is the direction Mauricio Pochettino wants to take this side? We're now 6 months into this process or project, however you want to define it. and the team doesn't look any different to what it was under a manager like Graham Potter. So you have to question, is there a real structural problem at Chelsea, and is it just a manager problem, or is it player? You just have to look at it holistically from top to bottom. Where does it come? How does it manifest? And I think myself included, I've tried to give Poach some time to kind of get things and right the ship. But if you lose to a side like Middlesbrough, you better win this next leg at home, and you better win it big, because if Chelsea win 2-1 or 1-1 on penalty and advance on penalties or some bullshit like that, you're really getting kind of dire there. And not to be outdone, they have a game against Fulham on the weekend, who's going to be out for revenge after losing to Liverpool the way they did. So this could be a real dire next couple of weeks here for Chelsea if they don't get their act together quickly.
Couldn't agree more. And you mentioned that Fulham Chelsea game. I think that's going to be a cracker of a match. And kind of rolling into Fulham, I thought they played really well against us in the Carabao Cup yesterday. They go up one goal early, and then kind of like the game they last played a couple months ago, they kind of just collapse late, and when they collapse, boy, do they collapse. So I'm still really impressed with how Fulham play and set up. To be fair, Liverpool played more of a B lineup against an A Fulham and still got the victory at Anfield. It was a little bit more scrappier than I really wanted to, but I tweeted something out on the account earlier today, and it was basically just stating that Jurgen Klopp, he's regarded as one of the best football managers in the world, and one of his big tweaks that people have always had, especially at Liverpool, was just his use of substitutions. And he used to just sub guys in, and it would completely kill the rhythm of the match, and he would just do weird substitutions, weird times, stuff like that. But the one thing that has been our saving grace this year is our subs. Every single time he subs on a player, they end up scoring or having a significant impact into the game. And he brought on Darwin Nunez and Gakpo, and Nunez just rattles off 2 assists immediately. Gakpo gets a goal. And this is a trend. You see it with Diogo Jota. Usually Darwin doesn't come off the bench, but Cody Gakpo has been fantastic off the bench. So I'm loving what I'm seeing from the squad. Connor Bradley, the academy kid, looked fantastic at right back, replacing Trent, one of arguably the most informed players in the world right now. That's no easy task, and he just looks like such a complete player. So I'm a little bit less worried about our defensive frailties at the moment, but we do have 10 days off, and hopefully we can get healthy in that time frame.
Yeah, I will say the only thing that concerns me here, and again, I feel like it's pretty comfortable to say Chelsea will advance, given everything I just said. Again, it's a championship side going back to Stamford Bridge. You would expect them to win that leg at home and kind of, win the aggregate. I will say, though, Daniel, the Liverpool game, you're a little concerned if you don't put a third goal in the net if you're Liverpool. Going to Fulham for the second leg, a Premier League side, so it's a little different situation than Chelsea playing a championship side. And Fulham are an entirely different team at home. I think there's still a chance here.
Sure.
I'm not saying this just because of you and your Liverpool ways, but there's genuinely a chance that Fulham could get a result and advance to the final. I think, like I said, they've shown it. They've played well. They've played tough teams at home, and they've played well at home. And if they can get a result, on any given day, any team in the Premier League can beat another Premier League team. Even the championship side can beat a Premier League team, as we just saw. So I think there's some concern there. If you'd put another one in, 3-1 going into that second leg, I think you're a little bit more at ease. But I do think it's going to be, I'm not going to go as far as say an upset is going to happen. It's going to be Fulham versus Chelsea in the final, but I think it's going to be a little bit more of a difficult task, a little bit sweatier palms for Liverpool fans in the second leg than it probably should have been.
No, I can get behind that. There's few teams that I don't like playing, but how Fulham made me feel the first time around, I was kind of wary about this match. To be honest, like I sometimes get a gut feeling that it's going to be, not a walk in the park. And so sometimes that's off. Sometimes I'm pretty spot on with that. And that, we kind of got lucky in this match a little bit. So it's going to be interesting. Thank God we have that 10-day rest because, I can't remember who we play right out of the break, but we play someone that's not great, and then we play, Fulham midweek, and then we play the winner of Norwich and I think Bristol Rovers. So at least Klopp can more rotate in the Saturday game and play to full strength at Craven Cottage. So that makes me feel a little bit better just about how we're going to, show up for that match. But all in all, it's been a great Carabao Cup so far. I love having, Middlesbrough in the semifinals here. See, we love the cup because, we want the underdogs to succeed here. So just kind of real quick, just going to hit on, another cup, the Coppa Italia. La Viola Fiorentina win in penalties against, my darling Bologna. Both teams had a bunch of, opportunities, but, it just happened to come down to penalties, and football can be a very cruel game. Do you want to do quick rapid fire here, or do you have any comments on these?
You hate to see penalties decide something like this, of course. It happens more times than not, especially in the cup. It's one of those games, and we've talked about Bologna now. They drew it against Genoa the other day, and so you're wondering kind of, is that steam running out for that side? Of course, they're sitting fourth in the table, but they go up against a team that arguably they're playing and competing against for that fourth place, and they lose, and as well, right, coming out of a draw against a lesser opponent. So you kind of wonder, like I said, are they running out of gas? And it's going to be an interesting matchup. They get Atalanta, Fiorentina, that is, in the semifinal, who of course, Daniel, we thought that Pioli was on his way back, and this would have been a nice way for them to kind of get 2 consecutive wins in a row. And like I said, Atalanta goes in and wins 2-1. Christian Pulisic with a nice assist, but no, not enough. And then, of course, in the other matchup, you're going to have Lazio versus Juventus. Never an uninteresting game when Lazio and Roma play. 3 red cards, including Jose Mourinho. Classic. And Lazio get a 1-0 win there to advance. So you have some pretty big matchups in the semifinals. Of course, I would imagine most Italian sides would have preferred AC Milan in there instead of Atalanta, but for that potential final of Milan versus Juventus. But you're still going to get a good matchup in Coppa Italia and an interesting final out of either of the top 4 teams that are left.
Yeah, you mentioned that Atalanta Milan game. Milan go up first by a beautiful, sprinting run by Hernandez down the wing right to Leal, who just puts in the back of the net. But, Pioli's testing out. Their back line's very injured at the moment, so he tested out an academy kid who ended up giving up the penalty for the game winner, and they switched off before half. So just really bad defensive mistakes are costing Milan, and a little bit stale up front, I would say. So we'll keep. We always talk about Pioli and where he stands right now, but you can't keep losing at home. That's rule number 1. So it'll be interesting a development to keep. Real quick, I will say we do speak highly on Mourinho on the show, and I mean his record against Lazio is pretty bad. So I feel like we at least, as much as we praise him, there is some concerns in that Roma camp, how they set up. That game was, you could have slept for 8 hours, Matt, watching that game. I mean, it was so boring, and
I would have
anti-football almost, really, how Mourinho set up his team. So pretty disappointing from there. And then just real quick with Juve Frosinone that just ended 30 minutes ago. Weston McKennie, 2 assists, world-class assists too. I mean, he is probably the most informed American other than maybe Christian Pulisic right now. And our boys are flourishing in Italy, so I love to see it.
Yeah, just keep in mind it's Frosinone, so let's not get too crazy over the top here, but a very nice assist nonetheless. Very nice, of course. Like I said, Pulisic, sets up the goal yesterday for AC Milan too. So yeah, definitely a good sight to see the boys playing well, especially ahead of Copa America in the summertime. You hope they can continue to keep form and kind of building on that. Of course, Daniel, keeping with the theme of the cup, it was cup all week. So as Super Cup de España, which of course naturally was played in Saudi Arabia. Go figure. We had a absolute classic of a match yesterday versus the 2 Madrid sides, Real Madrid versus Atleti. 5-3 was the final. Who would have saw that coming from that matchup? But not only was it 5-3, it was 3-3 going into extra time. And Daniel, there were some great goals. There was some poor goals. There were some historic goals. it had everything in this matchup, and it was what you wanted to see. Of course, these two sides will play each other again in a week's time in Copa del Rey as well. So, just as if that wasn't good enough, we get an instant rematch of this one in no time at all.
Game of the week, without a doubt, Matt. I mean, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defenders score, 1 own goal, including that 5. You have Brahim Diaz sprinting, outrunning Oblak for a goal, and Oblak had like a 20-yard head start, which was so funny to watch. You could kind of see it unfold, like, oh, is he going to beat him there or not? But I mean, what a match this was. And we always talk about Simeone. It's kind of like Mourinho, where he likes the more defensive setup. But this match could not have been more of the opposite. And it was a really great match to watch. And other than, the fact that it's in Saudi Arabia, the Spanish fans could not enjoy it being in person, unfortunately. But, Ancelotti is Simeone's daddy at this point. I mean, he completely owns that rivalry here, and it's going to be interesting to see if they rattle off another one in a couple weeks. But I do want to get to, one of your favorite players. I see him right plastered on the wall. I can't remember what those used to be in America where you put the player on the wall, but I see it right behind Grisou, all-time Atletico Madrid scorer. Don't know exactly what the figure is, but the fact that he started at Sociedad, went to Barcelona for a little hiatus, and then came back and still the top scorer with, great company. Just speak on Grisou for a second.
Yeah, I kiss my Grisou fat head every night before I go to
Fat
bed,
head, thank you.
as well as rub the bald head of Pep Guardiola. So everyone gives me a hard time for both of those. So we'll just get that out of the way. No, he is fantastic. I think I've said it to a few people, you included, in the last 18 months. So even, pre-World Cup, I think he might be one of the best players on the planet right now. Just the way that he plays, he definitely plays better than the team he's on. It's been a weird run for him. You mentioned the sides that he was at, Real Sociedad to start things off. Of course, his stint at Barcelona didn't really take off like we thought it would, and he's found a home, and he's really flourished. I think it's 175 goals for Atleti, which he's not a striker by nature. He's kind of in that, more of that 10 position, and so to have that type of tally is pretty remarkable. Of course, he drives France at every tournament that they play in and every appearance he makes, and he's always first on the roster, first 11. Didier Deschamps, first name on this team sheet, Antoine Griezmann. And so it's interesting because he's never played for a French side as well, which I think is probably one of those weird things that, of course, doesn't happen. It doesn't always have to be a requirement, but you would have thought he would have at least at some point in his career played for a French side. But again, he's made a home, a great home in Madrid. How long he plays there, we've talked about it a little bit. The rumors of him wanting to come in and join MLS in the future. Of course, he's getting up there in age. Probably one more cycle of the Euros this summer, and maybe 26 for the World Cup, and who knows from there. So yeah, I mean, can't speak higher than this guy. And like I said, just world class at every level. That turn, he undressed Luka Modric with that turn, and that's not easy to do. And he puts the ball behind Kepa and scores an absolute beauty to break the record. And what a way to do it from a classy player.
Undressed. I like that. That's like a Roy Hodgson. I don't know if you got that, from his artillery or not, but I did like that. Now, just real quick, just before we move on to Griezmann, this is like one of the players, that you'll see on Twitter, and it'll be like, the streets will never forget. I think he's that kind of legacy guy because, his silverware cabinet's pretty solid with, national team especially. But, it's a shame that he'll always be overshadowed by Kylian Mbappe because, I mean, he's the guy who's played the most consecutive games for France ever. He's arguably the first name other than Kylian on the team sheet. And he was crucial to Didier Deschamps. He's been crucial to Diego Simeone. And I hate that his Barca stint didn't work out because I think a Messi-less Barca, he would have elevated that team. You can't have two of those kind of players on one team. I mean, it's historically speaking, you probably can't, but just in that setup, it just wasn't working. So I hope that Griezmann has done enough to, maintain that a legend of the game status. And I think him breaking that record was a big step in that right direction. I mentioned Griezmann's stint at Barcelona, his ex-team also was in this tournament against Osasuna, finished up around an hour ago. 2-0 win for Barca. They keep churning out these scrappy wins. Still not convincing. Lewandowski finally scores in 2 consecutive games since the first time since September. Thank you, commentator. And haven't heard this name in a while. Lamine Yamal scores. Still not convinced with Xavi, but any thoughts on this match?
There was a time not too long ago when Barcelona was a really fun watch.
Agreed.
And you wanted to turn on the television when they were playing to see what they were going to do. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't that long ago. Even last season, I would say, was kind of in that area. You could have maybe at the end of it, but right now, Daniel, they do not look inspired to play football. They are just going through the motions. We've talked about it before with them, how they just kind of ho-hum it for 60 minutes, and then they'll turn on the gas and get that winner or the equalizer because they've given up an early goal. And that's kind of where they're at. It's an interesting situation there. I don't know if it's the manager's fault, if they're not receptive to his message, or if the players are, in a weird state. Of course, Rafinha can't stay healthy. He comes off as a substitute for, of course, Lamine Yamal, who gets the goal late. Lewandowski gets kind of back on track a little bit, like you said, 2 consecutive games. But still, this is not the Barcelona that you're expecting to see. It's not the Barcelona we want to see. It's not the Barcelona that we should see. And so, they're currently 9 points back, I believe, in the table for La Liga. Let's take that out. They're not going to win that. They're I think it may be 7 points. Excuse me. Either way, they're not coming back from that the way that they're playing right now. And I think you're looking at a game against Napoli in not too short a period of time in the Champions League that you thought was a little bit more easy to get through. Right now, I do not feel comfortable saying that Barcelona is going to win that tie. And that's just a real testament to where this team has fallen in the last 5 months.
Yeah, I think you couldn't be more spot on. I feel like we're on the same wavelength today, which is pretty nice. But yeah, I mean, even last year with Xavi Ball, they won because they had the most stout defense in the entire league. But when I think of Barcelona, I think of 2013, Iniesta, Xavi, Messi, those players, and they just played such an attractive brand of football under Pep, Valverde, even Kike a little bit. And this, I just think that they're like you said, they're uninspired, and there's no movement on the field. And yes, they're missing Gavi. Yes, they're Pedri's finally getting back to health. Yes, they're missing Cancelo right now. They're missing guys, but I mean, this is Barcelona we're talking about. This is one of the richest, best teams in the world. You got to have depth, and I just didn't see any runs in behind. Lewandowski, I've never seen a player drop off so fast as he has. He was utterly useless this entire match until he popped up with a good goal. Thank God Gundogan's in that team, and they got him last summer because he's been the reason they're probably in 3rd or 4th right now. But yeah, it's weird times, and I'm sure even with this win against Osasuna, Barcelona fans are probably still not happy, and I'm not very bullish on them. I think Madrid could give them a real humbling in that Super Cup final.
Yeah, and of course, you had them as super squad going forward. Have maybe the kiss of death there, but it'll be interesting. They're still, of course, Pedri sounds like he's coming back. Frankie De Jong potentially could be back soon. More regularly. I think he's in and out of the lineup right now. Just, like I said, Rafinha can't stay healthy. So, there is still hope there, Daniel. Again, I don't foresee them catching Girona or Real Madrid the way they're playing. Did confirm it is 7 points back in the table right now. And, they get a 2-0 win over 12th place Osasuna, and it really just didn't seem, too convincing. And Daniel, this was one of those things. This is one of the sides, Barcelona, that elevated a league, elevated a country as far as the style of play, the way that people view the world of football, right? If you think of football, you think of Barcelona, you think of Real Madrid, you think of La Liga. It's changing the dynamic there. I think I'd love to get your thoughts here on some of those, power rankings, if you will, from club and country. But, we talked about last episode where Italy is making that progression to kind of move up that ranking of top 5, power 5 clubs in world football. I don't think they're above La Liga yet, but I think, when you're losing the quality of a team like Barcelona, that you have to really look at it. Are they now 3? Are they 4? It puts in perspective how much stronger Premier League and Bundesliga are compared to Serie A and La Liga, in my perspective.
Yeah, and we'll do power rankings on the next show as like a segment, and so we can kind of get more thoughts. But obviously, the Barcelona downfall started with a bad chairman who depended on Messi, burned Messi, made some very bad investments. Philippe Coutinho, for example, Griezmann didn't work out, and so when they just feel like they just knew Messi was never going to leave, and when he left the PSG, they had no backup plan, and then they're in financial ruin. They're selling players left and right, academy kids that they'd usually rely on, and now they've kind of built their way back up. And I was very positive on Xavi, just because he inherited a really bad situation, and a lot of coaches failed before he even got there. So, but they're at a point now where they're a little bit more comfortable financially, and they've been able to get a player like João Felix on loan, and that should he's a star and he should elevate. And Lewandowski's been pumping 25 plus goals a year for, I don't know, like 7 seasons straight, and he just drops off the planet of the earth 1 year. I just find that, like, I don't think that's a coincidence, right? And maybe he has lost a step a little bit, and old age comes with that, but he's just completely lost all confidence. So we'll definitely dive into the fate of Barcelona. But before the break here, just wanted to hit on one quick thing. Franz Beckenbauer just died, unfortunately. May he rest in peace. Being a younger generation, I didn't really know what he contributed to the soccer world, but got to read a really good article on The Athletic about it. I recommend it. He won World Cups as a player, won World Cups as a coach, was kind of the key of Bayern becoming the team they are. I feel like he's kind of comparative of, a Johan Cruyff with Ajax and Barcelona, as he, built that Bayern Munich empire. So rest in peace to him. And he's, Der Kaiser.
Yeah, good to see you catching up on some history here. Not to make light of the situation, of course. He's a legend of the game, and there'll be plenty of tributes throughout the week in the Bundesliga, which of course we'll also get you ready for here after the break. But yeah, I mean, Daniel, he's one of the greatest players of all time. Won everything you can think of. Of course, led West Germany to a World Cup title, not only as a player but as a manager. Only 3 managers have done that. 3 people in general in the world of football have done that. 2 of them just passed away within the last 10 days, of course. And so that is, one of those people that, Franz Beckenbauer, Zagola, and then Didier Deschamps is the only 3 people that have played and won as a manager. So,
very interesting.
You wonder and you hope Didier Deschamps has a long, long life, but it's one of those things where it just proves to you how important he is. And you mentioned, the way that he has transformed Bayern Munich to be the modern Bayern Munich. And without him, I don't think you're looking at Bayern Munich the same way that we are right now. Of course, he also changed the position of that sweeper position, and just the way he played the game, and just dominated. And it's a tremendous loss, not only to the German league and everyone involved there, but to the world of football as well. One of those players that transcends boundaries and borders. And of course, like you said, rest in peace to him, and thoughts and prayers to his family. But he will be one of those players that you remember forever, and we will always continue to talk about. So like I said, more to come on this is, of course, during the weekend here in the Bundesliga. But on the other side of the break, Daniel, a little bit more lighthearted side. We have predictions. It's Thursday for you guys. And like I said, Bundesliga is back. All the leagues are back this week. So we'll have a full slate of games. I'm sure Daniel have found me another nap game per usual, but we will dive into that on the other side of the break. So stick around and we will be right back. And welcome back. Of course, it is Thursday. That means predictions. Daniel, finally, we are not talking about cup games, although we love the cup, but these are the games that we live for as well. The Premier League, Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga, and Ligue 1 are all back this weekend. We have a full slate of games. It's a strange setup for the Premier League this week, as half the teams are off on winter break And then next week, the remaining teams will be off on winter break. But either way, they're all back. Everyone is back, full slate. As always, in case you're new to the show, of course, please follow us on X at Fulltime Roundup to interact with us. You can also download, like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcast. We do predictions on Thursdays, and Daniel chooses the games, fires them away. He always finds a game that I fall asleep to. So it's a running joke that there's a nap game here involved. And I'm sure there's one on the list here. So I'm going to pass it off to Daniel to start us off with a game in the Premier League, as we usually do.
First off, just want to say shout out to the Prem. I don't get to watch every single Prem game because there's like 7 games going at one time. But not only is there only 4 games, but they staggered the time. So you get to watch all the football. Shout out to you guys, because there's a lot of leagues that just schedule all of them in one time frame, and it's super annoying to follow. So first off, a huge relegation battle, a 6-pointer, as you like to say, Matt. Burnley, Luton. What team needs to win more, and who do you think is going to win?
Needs it more? Wow, that is a tough question. They are both, well, Burnley need it more just because Luton
Agreed.
is 4 points ahead of them in the table. Luton are only a point behind Everton right now to get out of the battle. Granted, there is a points deduction for Everton, but whether or not that's going to be rescinded or reduced, we don't know. Let's not take that into effect. Burnley need it more. Luton need it. It is a 6-pointer, like you said. Give me Luton. Give me the Hatters 2-1 in this one.
The Hatters. Okay. I'm going to go 2-2. I think this will actually be one of those sneaky fun games because, it means so much to these two teams that they're going to give, everything they have. They've had a little bit of rest. So, I think the quality will be pretty good. And I'm looking forward to this match. I'm going to say 2-2. Next, we got United versus Spurs. We're going to learn a lot about these two teams as both are banged up. We've already talked ad nauseum about both of these teams, but, who's going to – it's at Old Trafford. Who's going to edge this one out?
Man, Erik ten Hag could use this one really badly. Of course, it'll be interesting to see if Dagussen gets in the lineup for Spurs. Just signed his deal. I think it's officially done.
Here we go.
Today. I do believe there was a here we go. Same with Eric Dyer going the other way to Bayern Munich. Whether or not he gets in the lineup this quickly, I don't know, but they could use it. You're hearing rumors about Mickey van de Ven getting closer. That doesn't help this game either. So I'm trying to avoid this game because I really can't stand either side, Daniel. I think it's going to be a high-flying affair. I think we've seen what Ange likes to do, and that doesn't change. I think Erik ten Hag is kind of in a no man's land right now as well. 2-2. I'll go 2-2, similar to what you had before.
Okay. I like that. I was actually leaning towards kind of a 2-2 draw here. Let's see. I'm going to try to switch it up here. I'm going to give – this is a tough one. I'm going to go 2-1 Spurs. I just believe in them more than I believe in Ten Hag and his team. You're right, Dragusin, $31 million announced today. I missed that. Most expensive Romanian player ever. So that's a pretty cool stat there. And then Dyer, on his way out, which I'm sure Harry Kane's looking in that locker room like, God damn it, you followed me here. But yeah, I'm going to go Spurs. I trust in Ange ball more than Ten Hag ball, but I actually do think this will be a very entertaining Sunday game to watch. And I'll be watching it with a United fan and a Spurs fan. So I will be stirring the pot like crazy, like I love to do. Next game, Newcastle, Manchester City. Oh God, is this going to be a demolition?
It does feel that way. Kevin De Bruyne is back.
Oh,
Newcastle probably just lost 2 or 3 players in training today. Yeah, this one's not even close. 3-0, even though it's at St. James's Park. I don't think Newcastle are even in this one.
Yeah, it's not going to be anything close. I mean, this could be, De Bruyne's, hey, world, I'm back. You might have forgotten about me, but I'm still him. And I think this could be that kind of, vintage De Bruyne. So I'm going to go and raise the stakes here. I'm going to go like 5-0. I think they could just beat the brakes off of Newcastle, unfortunately.
Last time we had a 5-0 from Daniel, though, it was 1-1. So just keep that in mind, folks.
It was actually a 0-0.
No, sorry. Still a draw.
It still hurts me. So I don't want to lash out here. But to go to the sunny beaches of Spain, Athletic Bilbao versus Real Sociedad, two of the teams I like fighting for fourth. So I am extremely conflicted in this. I think Bilbao's at home. How does this match shake up?
No Kubo. Of course, Asia
Oh.
Cup is starting now. Give me Bilbao at home. No Kubo.
No Inaki Williams though.
No Inaki Williams, but still, I think there's more firepower on Bilbao right now. Of course, we've talked about how good Real Sociedad are, and they have a tough slog ahead in the Champions League. But I think Athletic Club Bilbao get this one done 2-1 at home.
I'm gonna go 1-1. I think both teams are gonna have to feel themselves out, missing some key forwards. So I think it might take a little bit for this match to pick up, but I feel like they're gonna have to figure out life without respectively one of their better players for each team. To go to Germany, Leipzig, Frankfurt. Frankfurt has clawed its way all the way up to top 8 on the table. They have had some great victories. Dortmund that I can think of, they absolutely killed Bayern. Is Leipzig going to be the next big fish they beat, or are we going to I know you love Marco Rose, so how do you think this game finishes?
He's
out?
my favorite. Let me just tell you, he's my favorite. That's sarcasm, folks, in case you can't back that up. Frankfurt up to 6th place in the table right now, which is so surprising considering what they lost. Of course, Koulibaly going to PSG over the summer. You thought that was kind of it for them, and they started slow, but they're kind of taking names right now. Never know what to get with RB Leipzig. 1-0. Give me Frankfurt. 1-0.
1-0. Okay, I'm gonna go. I keep saying the same scoreline, so I need to switch it up. I think Leipzig gets this one. I'm going to go 2-1, but I think it's going to be like a highly contested affair, fairly equal. I would say Frankfurt's coach edges Leipzig's, but Leipzig's squad edges Frankfurt. So it's going to be, the battle of the minds here. And it's a tough prediction here, but I'm going to go and pick Leipzig just because they're at home. And I think that gives them just the little bit of edge they need to get 3 points here. To go to Italy, this is probably your nap game. Maybe I'm wrong, but AC Milan, who need to win bad against a Roma team who's been pretty poor as of late. They're still in the mix. Both teams are still in the mix to get top 3. Definitely not in the title race, more than likely, but both are banged up. How does this, finish out?
Both need a win after losing in the cup, which we talked about earlier. 0-0. I'm going to go 0-0 on this one.
Classic Mourinho fixture. I do think Milan win. I think they win 1-0. They win ugly. I don't think Mourinho will be on the touchline for this one either. I don't know if that makes a difference, but Leao got his goal that he's been wanting. Pulisic has been in good form. I just think they have a little bit more, but those defensive frailties scare me. So maybe it's a little bit more goals than I'm predicting here, but I'm going 1-0 at the San Siro. We don't usually do French games, but I did like this matchup, so I threw it on here. Lens at home versus PSG. Is this just another walk in the park for PSG? But I feel like they never have walks in the park anymore. I feel like it's, a mid-performance after a mid-performance. Do you think they kind of, click and get it all together here?
1-1.
Wow. So
I'm gonna go
they
1-1.
draw.
They
Okay.
draw. I think they draw.
Okay.
I don't know why. I don't know how. I don't know where. 1-1.
Your father would be ashamed.
He would be. But no, he'd probably agree with me, actually.
Yeah, you were actually telling me that over break he discovered the French channel on television, was so hype about it, so he gets to follow Ligue 1. But I'm gonna go 3-1 PSG. I think they get it done, but I still think it's gonna be a scrappy affair.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We'll see what happens. Of course, the big news is Kylian Mbappe still figuring out where he's going to go. Not that impacts the play on the field. We also talked about Hakimi and Kang gone for their various cups too. So I think it's going to be an interesting one. I still think they win the league pretty easily. But I think there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period losing some of those players. And so we will see what happens. But Daniel, we have a full slate. Like I said at the beginning of the predictions, we're back where it's going to be a busy, busy weekend. We will try and catch them all. Of course, we will recap everything for you guys on Sunday. In the meantime, please interact with us on X at Full-Time Roundup to let us know if there's any matchups that we missed, any games that we should put our TVs on, any players that stand out, as I believe we will have our XI of the week again that finally returns after a long break from the holidays on Sunday as well. So keep an eye out for some of the big players of the weekend. And of course, you can download, like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcasts. It goes a long way. And Daniel, as always, I know you're looking for goals, but we will see you guys on Sunday.